You didn't leave anyone. Nobody fought, nobody yelled, nothing dramatic happened. You just noticed one day that the group chat felt like background noise, that a call with people you used to tell everything to left you more tired than before you picked up. And somewhere in that quiet, you started wondering if something was wrong with you for feeling it. That's not you turning cold. That's your identity moving faster than the people around it. Here are 6 signs you outgrew everyone before you even realized you were doing it. The first sign is how conversations started feeling rehearsed. They'd laugh at the same old story for the 100th time, nod along to opinions they used to actually hold, and realize halfway through that they were performing a version of themselves from a few years ago just to keep things comfortable. Nothing was said out loud, no argument, no confrontation. It was simpler and lonelier than that. The words kept coming, but the connection behind them had quietly gone somewhere else. They started noticing how much energy it took to sound like the person everyone expected, and how none of that energy was left over for actually being present. The conversation was fine, it just wasn't theirs anymore. The second sign is scrolling past someone's photos and feeling nothing where there used to be an ache. Not anger, not sadness, just a strange flatness, like watching a life they used to be written into from several rooms away. Media researcher Dr. Turkle at MIT has studied how digital closeness can quietly replace the real kind, letting people feel updated on each other's lives without ever actually being in them anymore. That's exactly what this feels like, fully informed, completely disconnected. They know the new job, the trip, the haircut, and still couldn't tell you what that person's voice sounds like when something is actually wrong. Watching a life from the outside is not the same as being welcome inside it. The third sign is how much smaller they made themselves just to keep the room comfortable, softening an opinion before it finished forming, laughing off a joke that actually stung, saying it's fine about something that clearly wasn't, because naming it honestly felt like more trouble than it was worth. Clinical psychologist Dr. Harriet Lerner has written about how people quietly over-apologize and shrink themselves to preserve relationships that no longer fit who they've become, mistaking peace for connection. What looks like being easygoing is often exhaustion wearing a friendly face. Every visit left them a little more tired than the last one, and they couldn't quite explain why because on paper, nothing had gone wrong at all. The fourth sign is the guilt, and it's the one nobody says out loud. A quiet, nagging sense that changing was somehow a betrayal, that growing meant leaving people behind on purpose, even when nothing could be further from the truth. Dr. Brené Brown's research on shame found that people often feel more exposed by growth than by failure, because growth implies they're no longer who everyone agreed they were. So instead of feeling proud, they feel like they owe someone an explanation, like outgrowing a version of their life requires an apology instead of just being allowed to happen. That guilt ends up heavier than the actual distance ever was. The fifth sign is missing the memory more than missing the person. A particular night, a particular joke, a particular version of themselves that existed back when everything still fit. Memory researcher Dr. Elizabeth Loftus has shown how memory reshapes itself over time, softening what was hard and sharpening what felt good, until nostalgia ends up honoring a moment instead of the relationship as it actually is now. That's the trap. Grieving a feeling and mistaking it for grieving a person. The friendship they miss might not even be the friendship that person could offer them today. What they're really mourning is a version of their own life, wearing someone else's face. The sixth sign, and the one that finally makes sense of all the others, is that new people started feeling easier than old ones. Fewer explanations needed, less performing. Conversations that didn't require translating themselves back into someone they used to be. Psychologist Dr. Kross's research on the inner voice suggests that the self we quietly listen to underneath all the noise is usually more accurate than the version we perform for everyone else. So if it feels easier around people who never knew the old version, that's not disloyalty. That's your own voice finally being heard clearly in a room that doesn't ask you to lower it. Outgrowing people isn't a failure of loyalty, it's proof you were paying attention to yourself the entire time. If any of this described you, tell me in the comments which sign hit hardest. And if it gave language to something you've been feeling quietly, stay around, because this channel is built for exactly this kind of honesty,